I would like to call this meeting of the Camarillo City Council and Camarillo Sanitary District of April 8th, 2026 to order. Would our city clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Santangelo.
Here.
Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo.
Here.
Councilmember Kilby.
Here.
Councilmember Tremblay. Mayor Tennyson.
Here. We have a closed session item, and if the city attorney would read the item, I would be
Yes.
appreciative.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have one item on closed session, the OPV Coalition versus Fox Canyon Groundwater Management pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. And if there's any reportable action, I'll make that report.
Thank you, and with that, we will recess to closed session and be back at 5 p.m. We will reconvene the Camarillo City Council meeting, Camarillo Sanitary District meeting of April 8th, 2026. And I would like the record to reflect that all council members are still present. None of them ran away. I'm going to ask Mr. Tremblay to lead us in the pledge.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Tremblay. Are there any changes to this evening's agenda? Seeing none, we will move on. We have a presentation tonight from the CEO of the Museum of Ventura County, Elena Brokaw. But before she steps up and talks, I'd also like to recognize board members from the Museum of Ventura County, Mr. Jim Scanlon, welcome. Mr. David Fukutomi, a member of a longtime Fukutomi family here in Camarillo, and His Eminence, the President Emeritus of California State University, Channel Islands, Dr. Richard Rush. So welcome. Elena, please come forward. The time is yours.
Thank you so much, Mayor, Vice Mayor, all council members. Is this on? No, there it is. Hey, Mayor, Vice Mayor, all council members, city manager, city staff, everybody at home, thank you so much for allowing us to come here to present tonight. As the mayor said, my name is Elena Brokaw. I'm the Barbara Barnard Smith CEO of the Museum of Ventura County, and I'm here to share a little bit of what we do with you. So for those of you who don't know, we are an art, history, and culture museum. We were founded over 100 years ago. We have 4 sites, 2 in downtown Ventura, 1 in Santa Paula, and newly an office suite here in Camarillo, about a mile and a half from here. We are guided by the wisdom of our incredible board of directors. Thank you, Mayor, for introducing the 3 Camarillo residents who are here tonight, Dr. Rush, David Fukutomi, and Jim Scanlon. We also have over 100 voluntary advisors. These people are from all over the county, and they are the ones who guide the museum and all that it does. So that's who we are. Here's what we do. We collect our art, artifacts, and archives in order to guard the unique identity of our region, the region of Ventura County. Our goal here is to make everything as available as possible. I just want to point out this. This is a site on our library and archives where you can go and look up digitized files. 7 years ago, we had 0 things digitized. Now we have over 8,000. We use those collections to create exhibits in our 6 galleries that we have across the county. We have rotating exhibits there. Our goal is to bring as many people as possible, and to that end, we have made the museum entirely free. We're able to do that through sponsorships, which has almost quadrupled our attendance at all of our sites. And this is who comes to the museum. We have about 2/3 of our attendance from Ventura County, and then about 25% from other places in the state, and 8% from outside of the state, including international visitors. We're an educational institution. Education is very important to what we do. We provide school tours free for all Title I schools for 2nd and 3rd graders. We have bus subsidies. We've realized that that is one of the biggest barriers to getting kids to our site. So with a recent grant, we are now able to provide free busing for every Title I school who wants to come. We're very, very thankful to a grant that we got a few years ago, which created a paid internship program starting with students here from Cal State University Channel Islands. Many thanks to the President Emeritus for helping us with that. All of those interns are paid a living wage, which right now is $20.04 an hour. Our goal is to get students who have to work in to do something that's going to be a career pathway for them. And this is where we are doing our education and engagement. This represents where we have tours, where we have interns coming from, where we have scholarships, and as you can see, it's all over the county. So these collections, exhibits, programs, and education all serve the museum's foundational principles, which are these. Our mission is to engage participants in meaningful experiences, and our vision is to build community and connection. And one of the ways that we build that connection is to highlight our shared history. And to that end, tonight, I would like to use our collections to help all of us understand the city of Camarillo, who it was, and why it came to be the way that it is today. So before we begin with my little history lesson, I'd like to say that everything that I'm sharing with you comes from the museum's archives, the library, and the publications. All the photos are from our collection. So I'm going to start with a little short history. This will be really quick. We all learned this like in 4th grade, but I don't know about you, that was a while ago for me, so I think we need a refresher. Since pre-recorded history, this has been the home to indigenous people. Here it's the Chumash. There were at least 3 Chumash villages here in what is now Camarillo. In 1542, a sailor named Cabrillo came here, visited the coastline, and took this whole region, including Mexico and all of California up into Oregon and further east, as a new colony of Spain. In 1769, the missions began to be erected here in California, and Spain began to colonize this area. In 1824, the Mexican people revolted against Spain, and miraculously, they won, just like the revolution over on the other side of the country. It was incredible. So from 1824 until 1848, where we are standing right now, we were in the country of Mexico. In 1848, there was another war with the United States. The United States won that time. We became part of the United States, which we remain today, and in 1850, we became a state. Okay, no test on that, but that's a little bit of history to kind of, there you go, Mayor's got it, to kind of establish where we are in time. So when Mexico had governance of this area, they were very eager to populate the region because they didn't want it to be taken from them. There were English, there were French, there were Russians, all who wanted this territory. And one of the ways that they did that, they lured people to come here, is they provided ranchos, these large land grants. So the Mexican governor, California governor rather, who was appointed by the president of Mexico, would award land grants to people. They could be soldiers who'd done something great. They could be, somebody who had married their nephew, whatever, or niece rather. Because there were no women who were rancheros. Sorry, there was one. So 19 ranchos were established in Ventura County, and they roughly correspond to the cities that we have today. All right, can you all see that on your screens? You can probably see it a little bit better, but you can see it there. And most of here's the ranchos, the 19 ranchos, they're huge. Most of the cities are much smaller than the original ranchos were. And part of the reason for that is in the 1860s, 70s, and 80s, almost all of the ranchos were sold. And almost all of the new owners subdivided them and sold them off into small lots. So you had one ranchero who owned, let's say, 50,000 acres. That was all turned into little 100-acre lots, and then you had first tens, and then scores, and then hundreds, and then thousands of owners in a spot that had been owned by one person. But that is not the case in one rancho, and that rancho is Rancho Calleguas. And we're standing right now on what was Rancho Calleguas. In 1837, the California governor granted 10,000 acres to Jose Pedro Ruiz, and that was Rancho Calleguas, and now most of that rancho is the city of Camarillo, as you can see. So what happened here? Why is Camarillo actually larger? It's 50% larger than it was when it was Rancho Calleguas as opposed to all the other cities. There are a lot of things that led to that. But one critical factor is who bought Rancho Calleguas from Jose Pedro Ruiz. And that person was a Mexican immigrant named Juan Camarillo. So Juan Camarillo had come up from Mexico City in 1834. He was on a specific expedition filled with teachers to educate the new kids that were being born in this newly populated area. When he came up here, he became very wealthy because he did not become a teacher. Spoiler alert. He became a merchant. He had stores in Santa Barbara and in Ventura. And by 1875, he was ready to expand his holdings, and he purchased Rancho Calleguas from the family of Jose Pedro Ruiz. That family had used the rancho to raise livestock, as almost all the ranchos did. But extreme weather events in the 1860s ended the livestock industry in Ventura County, and the rancheros had to sell their property. So in 1875, the Ruiz family sold 10,000 acres to Juan Ramirez for $3,000, which, by the way, is worth about $81,000 now. And that was pretty much the going rate that they were going for. Juan Camarillo did not have long to appreciate his new purchase. He bought it in 1875. He died in 1880, leaving the management to his 16-year-old son, Adolfo Camarillo. Adolfo co-owned, managed, and lived on the rancho from 1880 until his death in 1958, which is almost 80 years. He used it to grow dry crops. He grew wheat, barley, lima beans. Here he is in the middle, finding a new artesian well on his property. By 1909, the LA Times wrote that Rancho Callejas was the largest bean ranch in the world. It was very successful. In 1892, he was able to build what has come to be known as the Camarillo Ranch House for his growing family. By all accounts, Adolfo and his brother Juan were extremely generous and benevolent employers, landowners, etc. They donated hundreds of acres of property for roads, for schools, for churches, for the railroad, and for much more. And their solo ownership of this huge piece of property, 10,000 acre piece of property, meant that they controlled who moved there. So people were moving into the land right around it, like Springville was not part of Rancho Callejas, and so homesteaders were moving in there, and there were some people around the edges, but nobody was moving onto the rancho unless they were employers or family members of Adolfo Juan and his family. And you can see they managed all the growth, and they liked it like that. So you can see that from this postcard that we have. This is a postcard from Camarillo, spelled Camarillo. I just noticed that. In 1927, this is downtown Camarillo. Now let's compare this to this photo downtown in 1905, over 20 years earlier. Anybody want to guess what city this is? This teeming metropolis?
Santa Paula.
Santa Paula. Santa Paula. There you go. So it was not until Adolfo Camarillo died in 1958 that the community really grew. 2 years after his death, the Chamber of Commerce formed an incorporation committee, and in it's all over, right? In 1964, Camarillo was incorporated, and then it starts taking off. So I'm going to skip through. I hope to talk a little bit more, but I'm not going to be able to talk about this. This is a population chart. Starts in 1910, before we have any census data for Camarillo, but it shows how the cities grow. And I want you to sort of watch Camarillo, which is right here now, because we're talking to you, see how it goes up and down, and you see the numbers start to get there in about the mid-60s. So Ventura's largest, Oxnard, and then, Santa Paula overtakes Oxnard, which always blows everybody's mind. Oxnard goes up there to the top and stays there. Here we go. Camarillo starts growing. Now, it goes really fast. I'm going to share this PowerPoint. You already have the PowerPoint, so you can actually watch it on your own. But if you go back and look at it between 1970 and 1980, Camarillo grows by 350% that decade. And relatively, Oxnard less than doubles. So that 1970 to 1980, just been incorporated. It had not grown at all. That is when everything happens, and that is what creates the type of city that you have today. So I want to be very clear that this is only one piece of the puzzle that went into creating this city that you call Camarillo. There are other people that established Camarillo. I talked about the homesteaders around the country, around the borders of the Rancho Callejas. There are other events that happened. You're very lucky here in this town. You have other historical associations. They have also collected history, the Pleasant Valley Historical Society, the Camarillo Ranch House Foundation. They also have source materials that can tell even more of this story and tell other aspects of this story. I do want to say that we share their goal to protect and preserve these records, these artifacts, these archives, and our hope is to complement what they have with what we have. I'm really happy and proud to be able to share that the Camarillo Ranch House Foundation and the Museum of Ventura County are in conversations to accession some of their archives in order to protect them and get them into climate-controlled environment in order to make sure that they are here in the future. So in closing, I want to thank you for letting me tell this story, talk about who the museum is, and I do want to say I have an ask. So I've talked about, the history over a past 175 years. One thing I hope we take away is that it wasn't always this way, and it won't always be this way. It's going to look very different. You were incorporated 60 years ago, and our goal is to collect our history now so that 60 years from now, none of us is going to be here. But somebody will be wondering what happened to create the community that we know then. And our goal is to gather that and protect it. So I have a few requests that I would like to make of you, which is to help us identify oral history participants, to help us identify partners who can both share their history with us and help us expand the storytelling that we are able to do. So this is our ask to you to help us connect the past, present, and future. We would love to partner with you, formally, informally, whatever it might be, to help share the story of this city and of our entire region. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Before I open it up to council, I just want to congratulate you on being named Woman of the Year by Senator Monique Limon. Congratulations, well deserved. Now,
you.
any council members? Vice Mayor.
I actually have a question and a comment. The first question is, actually, I'll start with a comment. Thank you so much you said community and connection. You are building that. That is you as the leader, but also your board. And the fact that you're just doing such amazing work, I'm personally so proud of that. And the mayor kind of took the words out of my mouth too, but I'm so proud that you were also selected as one of the 5 women of the year by Senator Pro Tem Monique Limon. And I mentioned that at our last council meeting, but I'm glad to share that with you in person as well. Yes. The question that I have is, have you formed any partnerships with Kidstream, Emerging Children's Museum, and also with the Pleasant Valley Historical Society?
I meet with Michael Michael Shanklin,
Yes.
the ED of Kidstream. So we've taken tours. He's taken tours of ours. We're very much like, whenever you're ready for a partnership, let's have a partnership. So, and he knows that our resources are there to help him in whatever way, and vice versa. So we don't have a specific partnership yet. Pleasant Valley Historical Society, I have gone and done a tour of the program of the museum before they closed it. And I've been in touch with Joy Todd recently just to say, let's get together and let's see how we can work together. So nothing specific yet, but conversations are open.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for everything that you do. Truly appreciate it.
Go ahead, Mr. Kildee. Speaking of history.
Just quickly,
We'll have
thanks for
Mr.
being here.
Kildee.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for being here. Look forward to working with you really closely. I was able to go, I think it was a major fundraiser you had last year, and I had a really good time, and I was able to tour the museum, and you've done some pretty incredible work there, and you have a great board of directors and a lot of support. So any way we can help you, achieve your goals, of course, we're always here to help in any way, shape, or form. So, and congratulations on your award. Happy for you.
Thank you.
Susan?
Thank you so much for being here tonight. You shared that, you shared your mission with us, and what stood out to me was that you want to engage in meaningful experiences. And so I wanted to thank you for bringing your mission here tonight, because that was pretty meaningful for me to have a short little history lesson to go back in time and relive my 4th grade memories about the missions and the land that we live in today. So thank you for the work you do, and congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
Mr. Tremblay?
Oh, boy. We have a kind of a tradition on the council that if our colleagues have already said what we were going to say, we don't extend our remarks. We just simply say ditto. That would be uncharacteristically succinct for me, though. I'm going to say 1 or 2 things and then say ditto. First of all, I'm really delighted that the museum has offices now in Camarillo. I am thankful to the museum and to the board of directors for the foresight and the work and the efforts that you've made in preserving our local history. I think we all know what the importance of the museum is, so whatever we can do. I see, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think there are 8 bullets here, so we should talk about all those asks. And thank you.
Thank you.
And just to bring it back to Camarillo, you have office space. What do you envision for that? Just office space, or do you guys, as a organization and a board, have a greater vision for your presence in Camarillo?
We have this board has lots of vision, as you can imagine.
Realistic.
Big dreams. Our goal, so we are out of space to collect, which is one of the reasons we're focusing on oral histories, because they are digital, right? They don't need physical space, they need cloud space. And we have to expand our collections. So right now we are expanding our entire collections here into Camarillo and moving what we would call our research center. So all of our collections, our reading room, our archives, everything is centrally located. We're really close to 3, if you count Oxnard College, institutions of higher learning. We feel like we can really expand our mission if we are located here. So that's our big dream.
And what's the size of your footprint right now in Camarillo?
Right now, we're in about 4,000 square feet of office space, and we are looking at 18,000 square
Okay.
feet of office space.
Great.
Or
Well,
space, excuse me, space.
Space.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Elena, and thank you to your board members that took out of their busy schedule instead of going to Ralph shopping. Dr. Rush is here. I appreciate that. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elena.
You're allowed to leave now, Dr. Rush, if you'd like. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers on any items not on the agenda?
Yes, there are 6 requests to speak under general comments. If you'd like to speak but haven't submitted your name, please see clerk staff in the foyer. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. The city council will receive general public comment for an initial period of 20 minutes. Speakers who sign up during the initial 20-minute public comment period but are not heard within that time will be given an opportunity to speak following the completion of action on all other agenda items. Your time will be displayed with the video on the displays. When your time is up, the microphone will be muted and we will move on to the next speaker. When I call your name, please come up to the podium. The first speaker is Spencer Ritchie, followed by Diana Bradley.
Welcome, Spencer.
Hello. All right. Fine. Hi, I am Spencer Ritchie. Good evening to you all. Few different things. One tiny little correction to the presentation, as lovely as it was. So in reality, Rancho Callegas's western border was actually basically just west of what is now Lewis. What we are standing in now is actually it's called the gore. It's often called the gore after like a cut of fabric. But basically where Springville was and where most of Camarillo is now, including us, that was in the, basically that triangle just to Rancho Callegas's west that ended up, the reason that was open to homesteaders was because that ended up not making it into any of the land grants that were registered by first the Mexican government and then the U.S. government. Anyway, so on to the meat and potatoes of But again, thank you for the Ventura County Museum. And I could not be happier that it plans to one day move its research center to Camarillo, because getting to downtown Ventura is hard for me as someone who can't drive, especially because our public transit is lacking. All right, now to my main concern. So, as of 9:20 a.m. on April 6th, so 2 days ago, Monday, ICE has so far, again, as of 9:20 a.m. on Monday, April 6th, 2 days ago, ICE has kidnapped from the 805 area code 1,824 people. ICE has kidnapped 889 people from Ventura County so far. And from Camarillo alone, it has kidnapped 471 people. Again, these are neighbors, these are students, these are workers, and these are our tax base. Since, you like people paying taxes and stuff. So again, not even scolding VCSO for picking up people who have just been released from our jails. No, letting ICE do that. And also, not even tolerating people just observing ICE. That's not great. Please do better. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Spencer.
The next speaker is Diana Bradley, followed by Jordan Blake.
Welcome, Diana.
Thank you. Which one do I use? This one?
Either one.
Okay. Hello. Oh, good. Hi. I attended your council meeting 2 weeks ago, March 25th, hoping to see the Camarillo Mobile Home Rent Stabilization Ordinance passed. That did not happen. Council members Santangelo and Martinez Bravo are the committee members pursuing this ordinance to help us mobile home owners who are subject to unfair land lease raises by park owners. Their committee has done extensive research over the last year. They provided verified statistics that IPG is gouging their tenants. The land rent chart that was displayed by the committee, really, all you need to know about the park owner IPG. They raise their land rents without a care about their senior tenants, which I am one, and their lower income and family tenants. I personally know of 2 senior tenants in the past 3 years who had to just walk away from their homes. One is now living in his car. The 2 female council members voted in favor, and all 3 of the male members opposed, noting that they wanted changes to the draft ordinance, primarily, it's my understanding, to the vacancy control, which is the ability for park owners to raise land leases substantially to potential buyers. Ventura County parks limit vacancy increases to 15% once every 4 years. And Ventura City Parks do not allow increases to a new tenant. The mobile homeowners want to protect their home equity. This ordinance can protect the equity of 500 homeowners that have built in Camarillo's mobile home parks. The loss of our home equity, I think, is directly tied to the vacancy control. We're asking you to pass this ordinance, protect our equity, by limiting park owners raising land rents exorbitantly to potential buyers during sales and transitions. Controlling vacancy increases is a priority for mobile home owners. Homeowners need monthly rent stabilization as well to protect our seniors living on a fixed income. We mobile homeowners and tenants respectfully ask the City Council to pass this rent stabilization ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jordan Blake, followed by Shirley Edwards.
Welcome, Jordan.
Oh, thank you. Hello. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to the issue regarding the rent control and vacancy rate. I guess I'll read a little and speak a little. Camarillo prides itself on taking care of the senior community. However, unfortunately, without ordinances, the rent control and vacancy rates has directly affected the senior community. And mobile home parks are traditionally fixed income communities. They are crucial for affordable housing and should be a lower cost path to home ownership for low income residents and seniors. So the lack of ordinance in the city's law has allowed landlords to take advantage of the vulnerable low income and senior communities. Because there's no rent control or vacancy measures in place, the rents have skyrocketed, as you know. And if the city adopts like a 6 or 10% vacancy rate, like you were talking about at the last meeting, the new rents, the landlords will most certainly increase to the maximum. Because the rents are already higher than the LA City and Thousand Oaks areas, adding 6 or 10% to the vacancy rate would be ultimately a much higher rent than the other 55 and older senior parks, and also just other mobile home parks in general of all ages. So I propose that we do some type of sliding scale where maybe the first or second year is at 0%, and then you go years 2 and 3 to 2%, and then 4%, ultimately ending up around 7%. And I think that this graduated increase, would no longer allow the rents to be increased 20 to 50% when a home sells, which is what's happening now. You're paying $1,000, and then the rent is $2,060 to the new prospective buyer, plus 3 times, income for a senior. And I think that's it. What I want to say to what the prior person had spoken about is that the vacancy rate is directly affecting the sales. The comparables, if you pull for the last 5 years in like Camarillo Mobile Estates versus Casa del Norte, which is far less, and also Rancho Adolfo, which has 11 park-owned spaces that they rent, and their rent there is only $15.95 in Rancho Adolfo, including the homeowners. And all of those sell for much higher. The average for Camarillo Mobile Estates, I think, was like $97,000. Casa del Norte was like $137,000. Lamplighter was like $237,000. But I think that's because it's, all ages. And, they have 2 incomes versus Camarillo Mobile Home Estates, which is for, seniors and elderly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jordan.
Shirley Edwards, followed by Siddharth Mehrotra.
Welcome, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Shirley Edwards. I live in a mobile home park here in Camarillo, and I rise in support of the rent ordinance, stabilization ordinance, including vacancy control. And I urge all council members to vote positive on this when it comes up for the next voting process. I say ditto to the last 2 speakers because I agree with everything they said. An owner in a mobile home park, like me, for instance, on a fixed income, if I wanted to sell my home, I may have to devalue it in order to be able to sell, because new owners are very turned off by the high land rent. My place will probably go very much higher a month than it is now. My lease expires at the end of the month, and at the end of this year, and I'm very concerned about what the price is going to be. Am I going to be able to pay it? What are my options going to be? Sell, hopefully, or walk away. Those are the options. So I strongly request that you vote for the rent stabilization ordinance with vacancy control to help protect those of us who live in the city and devote a lot of volunteer time to the city of Camarillo. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Siddharth Mehrotra, followed by Devo Brown.
Welcome.
Council, fellow citizens, I believe the speakers before me have spoken most wisely of all. I add my voice to theirs, to all their remarks, and I add this also. Council, we are coming to you for protection. Protection from being turned out of house and home in some cases. Protection from being attacked, abducted, bullied, beaten, carried away to a fate worse than death in the other. Protection in a third case from pollution and the excessive heat it is imposing on this city as well. These things are the largest troubles our nation faces and our city as well. We come to you asking for your aid in putting an end to them. Above all, perhaps most urgently, all three of these must be done, but most urgently, ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement as they call themselves, the occupying force invading and threatening us, the invading force imprisoning people merely for looking at them, as Spencer pointed out, why, they must stop and they must go. They must stop all they are doing. And they must go from this city, from this county, from this state, never to return. That is the bare minimum. The bare minimum any city must offer its people. The safety and the confidence of a place to call home. If these threats of high rent, occupying armies, and pollution continue, we shall have none of these. We shall not even have a city. The borders of this land have been, as our executive of the museum pointed out, been drawn and redrawn many times over the years, and they may be redrawn again, but that's no cause to mistreat our own people on those grounds, whether those borders are drawn by nations or landlords. When I have said that, I have said everything. Pollution and high rent and customs enforcement, as they call it, must stop and must go. That is all.
Thank you.
Devo Brown.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir, very much. Mr. Mayor, I appreciate it. Vice Mayor, council members, Mr. Ramirez, City Manager, and all the amazing city staff. I don't say those terms lightly. It's not just a gentle colloquialism. It's truly an expression of my opinion of everyone on this dais. I appreciate it. I'm, of course, talking to you what I always talk to you about so far the last several times we've spoken. But I have a couple of new thoughts. I'm not going to beat you with figures and those sorts of things. It's just, well, I'm going to give you a couple, just a couple. The main figure that I was thinking of is, well, it really has to do with vacancy control. And I think that's what we were discussing. The three ad hoc members of the council were really, really drilling down on last time, at the last meeting. The thing that I didn't hear any of you mention, I heard all of you mention return on investment for the park owner many times. And I noticed in the agenda report, it's mentioned 17 times, return on investment. I also understand that it's a state law, that it has to be there. And I find that your due diligence is refreshing because that tells me your due diligence on things that we don't discuss is probably just as high, and I appreciate that. So when I say thank you for your service, I'm thanking you for that attention to detail as well. The one detail that wasn't attended to that I haven't heard yet, it's not in the ordinance itself, which by the way does mention return on investment for the park owner 12 times, was return on investment for the homeowners. In this particular place, in this particular situation, there are two owners for every parcel, if you will. There's the landowner, and then there's the homeowner. Now, a standard stick and mortar home, it's one owner. The one owner owns both the home and the land. In this instance, there's two. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but I like to, I don't know if you know any American Sign Language, but there's a symbol for fair, because fair return is the term that's used quite a bit. The term fair in American Sign Language is this.
Okay, it's sign language is kind of a visual onomatopoeia. But what that means is there's two entities and they meet at a level ground. And so far, what I've noticed is the particular side of this that has the most money gets the most fair. They get the most mention of the term fair. And the ones that have the least amount of money, the individual homeowners, aren't getting the term fair toward our return at all. It hasn't been mentioned. I'm hoping it's being considered after I speak to you today. That's the least I can tell you. That's really all I wanted to mention, is that I feel like we're being left out. Collectively, the homeowners in the city, I'm out of time. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you very much.
There are no more speakers.
Thank you very much. We will move on to council staff and intergovernmental reports. And I would like to welcome Mr. Gerardo Gonzalez with Interface 211. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and City Manager. Thank you for having me here today. I'm Gerardo Gonzalez, Community Information Associate Director with Interface 211, and I'm here to share how 211 has been supporting Camarillo residents throughout this past year. For those who may be unfamiliar with our services, 211 Ventura County operates under Interface Children and Family Services based out of Camarillo. We serve as a countywide information and referral hub, linking residents to more than 2,000 health and human service resources throughout the region. Last year in 2025, we received over 18,000 calls and texts, and our website welcomed more than 25,000 visitors. Each of these interactions represents someone finding their way to the services and the help that they need. In 2026, we celebrate over 20 years of providing 211 services to the community. 211 represents just one part of Interface's broader mission. Interface runs 30 distinct programs across 6 core departments: domestic violence and child abuse prevention, human trafficking prevention and intervention, justice services, mental health and trauma treatment, and youth crisis and homeless services. This broader network allows us to be able to directly refer to our interface programs for individuals who can benefit from our services. 211 stands as the county's most extensive and comprehensive information and referral resource for residents seeking help. Our team assists callers in locating and accessing the services that they require, from housing to food programs, mental health support to legal aid. We're available 24/7 every day of the year, understanding that urgent needs don't wait for convenient hours. Accessibility is central to our mission. Residents can connect with us in 3 simple methods, and that's by dialing 211, texting their zip code to 898-211, or visiting our website at 211ventura.org. Regardless of how someone connects with us, they'll be connected to a trained community information navigator. Now I'd like to share some specific data about how we served Camarillo residents in 2025. So we took 1,509 calls from Camarillo residents throughout the year. Let me give you some context around this figure. A significant number of our Camarillo callers reach out to us more than once, so the actual count of unique individuals is lower than the 1,509. What this shows us is that residents trust 211 enough to come back when they need additional support. Someone might contact us initially about finding housing and then give us a call back a few weeks later when they need mental health services, or perhaps give us a call a third time when they need food assistance. We collect demographic information from every caller to help us understand community needs and trends, which is why you're seeing the total call volume rather than a count of unique individuals. Looking at the demographics of those that we served, 457 were first-time callers to 211, 105 were families with children under 5 years old, 22 callers indicated the person in need was pregnant, 100 calls pertained to someone who reported they were at risk of becoming homeless, and 142 calls pertained to someone who reported that they were currently homeless. These numbers give us a snapshot of some of the challenges facing some of our Camarillo neighbors within the context of 211, particularly around housing stability and the need for comprehensive family support. Behind each of these calls is a real person navigating a difficult situation. Let me share an example with you. A few months ago, we received a call from a Camarillo resident. Let's call her Sarah, facing a crisis that was affecting her entire family. Her 15-year-old son had been refusing to go to school, becoming verbally abusive at home, and showing signs of serious mental health struggles. Sarah had contacted the school, and they referred her to a mental health provider. But she was overwhelmed trying to navigate the mental health system while also managing her own stress and anxiety about her son's well-being. When Sarah called 211, our navigator recognized that this wasn't just about finding a mental health provider, it was also about supporting an entire family in need. We connected her to mental health services that accept Medi-Cal for her son, linked her to family therapy resources so the whole family could work through this together, and provided information about support groups for parents dealing with similar challenges. When one family member struggles with mental health, the entire family often needs support as well, not just the individual in crisis. 211 is here to help families access the comprehensive services they need to be able to heal together. When we look at the top categories of needs expressed by Camarillo callers in 2025, housing ranked number 1, no surprise there. Second was individual, family, and community support, encompassing services like the Area Agency on Aging, case management, and programs like holiday gifts and toys. Third was mental health and substance use services, reflecting the significant need for behavioral health support. This slide here shows how Camarillo compares to other cities in the county. As you can see, housing is a top need across every community. This is a countywide challenge, not unique to Camarillo. What we see in Camarillo is that mental health and substance use services rank as the third highest need. This reflects a pattern we're seeing in several communities across the county, where behavioral health support is becoming an increasingly prominent need alongside housing and family services. And lastly, to wrap up, in addition to linking residents to existing resources, we operate several specialized programs delivering direct services over the phone to residents. Through VITA, our Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, we offer appointments for no-cost tax preparation to qualifying community members, helping them claim maximum refunds and access tax credits that they're entitled to. Our PSPS initiative supports the access and functional needs population in advance of public safety power shutoffs via case management, and delivers real-time help during actual shutoffs, covering things like lodging, meals, transportation, portable backup batteries, all at no cost to residents for the duration of the PSPS events. And this is made possible through our partnership with Southern California Edison. Ventura versus Hate assists those who've experienced hate incidents in filing reports and accessing appropriate support services. Through ECM, our Enhanced Care Management Program, our team delivers comprehensive case management to eligible Gold Coast Health Plan members, helping them address both their health needs and basic needs through coordinated care. These initiatives allow us to offer hands-on assistance to some of our most vulnerable residents in our communities. I appreciate your time this evening, and thank you so much for your continued support of the work that we do here in Camarillo through 211. If you or anyone you know ever needs assistance, please remember that we're here 24/7. Again, you can reach us by calling 211, texting your zip code to 898-211, or visiting our website at 211ventura.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gerardo. I said it right this time,
Yeah, you said it
correct?
right.
Yes. Any comments or questions? I know the vice mayor will have something.
Thank you, Mayor. Gerardo, thank you so much for your presentation. And more than anything, thank you to 211 for the critical work that is being offered to our community members. I know you mentioned that housing is the top need and mental health is, I believe, number 3. And I would probably assume that when people are asking for mental health support is when they're already acknowledging that they need that support. But unfortunately, if people are facing housing insecurity, they're probably already in need of some mental health services. When people are seeking housing services, are you able to make that connection to any mental health support as well?
Yeah, we are. So our approach is to be as comprehensive as possible. So when someone calls, we make sure to assess their situation. What we want to do is, of course, acknowledge the stated need, but also look out for unstated needs, right? So oftentimes we're able to provide additional resources to try to, kind of make sure that they're taken care of in every aspect, and depending if they're able to take all of that information at the time, we're able to share the resources that they need, and if not, then we'll follow up with them, or they'll know that we're here 24/7, so they can connect with us again.
Okay. Thank you so much. And other than that, my comment is just that I'm very proud that the city of Camarillo is a partner and supporter, financial supporter of 211, because it is through that work that we're able to offer these services to our community members who need it right then and there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, Susan?
Oh, you're leaving.
Gerardo, we're
Come
not
back.
done.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Thank you for being, no, you're fine. I'm just teasing you. I'm really happy you're here tonight. My day job is a psychiatric nurse, and so I have patients that use 211, and in the same sense that I refer them to. So I'm really happy that we have that resource, and I am not happy, but it's really rewarding that I get to see it in use daily. So thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, Mr. Kildee.
Gerardo, just kind of quickly, if you would, housing, are most of the calls with the housing related, are they in a financial rent assistance? What's the number one, would you say, with the housing call?
So the composition of that top need is about 50% affordable subsidized housing, so individuals that are looking for low-income subsidized housing, and about 20% of that is individuals who are seeking emergency housing because they're either homeless or they're at risk, and then the remainder of that is individuals who, yes, are going through some type of financial hardship, and they're looking for rent payment assistance or help with their bills. So oftentimes, what we want to do is assess their situation and make sure, are they taking advantage of any entitlement benefits? Are you enrolled in CalFresh, CalWorks? If they're disabled, do you have Social Security income? So we try to explore those avenues, combined with the actual resources for rent payment assistance or low-income subsidized housing. Right now, there's a variety of wait lists that are available through many mansions and other low-income housing providers. So we're excited that daily we're able to connect individuals to those housing wait lists. And there's even a couple lists that are actually open right now where they're accepting applications for consideration of housing. So that's kind of a relief there, that over these last few months, there's actually some good viable options for people to consider. Oftentimes, people are frustrated because they need housing in a month or two, but time will pass. We still encourage them to get on the wait list because the time will come eventually. So that's kind of like kind of what that looks like.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Mr. Tremblay.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Gerardo, thank you for being here. The depth and the breadth of 211's expertise in all these different areas is instrumental for our community, so I really appreciate you being here. Ditto to what my colleagues have already said, and I want to especially note and compliment you on the power shutoff safety services. and that partnership with Edison, because I know it's of value during those times. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ditto what my colleagues have said, and now you are free to leave.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Have a good evening. Next up, we will have a presentation from Commander Tennyson on the uniform crime statistics for the city of Camarillo.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about crime in Camarillo last year. I can tell you as a resident who lives here and as someone who is very familiar with the crimes that happen, Camarillo remains a very safe place to live and to work and to raise families. The first couple of slides are going to be things that you've all heard before, but it's worth reminding for those who are watching or listening for the first time. The Sheriff's Office fully transitioned away from uniform crime reporting in 2024, and we went over to the new National Incident-Based Reporting System. So we now have 2 years worth of data, so we can look and compare apples to apples from 24 and 25 to get an idea of how we're doing from crime. There's a lot of different things that came through NIBRS, but the bottom line is we have a lot more data that we now are required to collect and report to the FBI. But that extra data also gives us more data points to analyze and to help us develop good strategies in fighting crime. Our categories within NIBRS are crimes against persons, crimes against property, and crimes against society. And I'll talk a little bit about each of those and what they look like year over year from 24 to 25. Before I talk about that, though, I do want to remind everybody watching and remind council here that crime rates are affected by many, many things. And we have a tendency to want to look at our city and compare them to our neighboring cities. But there are so many factors that make Camarillo different from our neighboring cities that we have to be really careful when we do that. We do report on a per 1,000 resident basis, but what we also understand is that our daytime population isn't just based on our 70,700 residents. We have a lot of businesses here that employ people that bring them in. We have the outlets that bring in a lot of people. So our population is very different during the day than it is at night. And there are many, many factors that influence crime. We did see a few positive and negative crime trends this last year. They include increases in assaults, and I'll talk about those a little bit later. We saw a significant decrease in motor vehicle thefts, and as you might imagine, we see continued organized retail theft activities, primarily along the theft corridor of Ventura Boulevard. One of the first things I want to talk about is looking at a 6-year snapshot of our calls for service. We did have an uptick last year from 14,000 up to 14,500, but we still remain lower than we have in the last 6 years. These calls for service are not just when somebody calls for a deputy. It also includes traffic collisions. What it doesn't include, though, is self-initiated, proactive policing and self-initiated activity. And our deputies do a lot of that because that proactive policing is really what goes a long way to making us safe. So these here are just the calls for service where somebody calls needing a police officer to respond. Now, the first category I want to look at is crimes against persons. And a couple of things stand out to me is that we had the same amount of homicides we had last year. I'm grateful that we only had one, but one is one too many. In Camarillo in 2025 on New Year's, I think it was the day after New Year's, was a murder-suicide between an elderly couple where there had been a terminal illness diagnosis. And it was tragic. And we work to ensure that we don't have any in Camarillo, but sometimes we can't control all of those things that happen behind closed doors. We did have 20 consensual sex offenses, down from 35 the year before. 9 of those consensual sex offenses were rapes. I reviewed each one of those rapes. They were all, not that it makes it any better, but just some of the demographics on it was known offenders to victims. So we didn't have stranger rapes. Those are something that would really cause us a lot of concern if we had something like that. We did not have that, and we didn't discover any trends with the ones that we did have or with any of the sex offenses that we did have. The assaults are where we saw a significant increase. We went from 452 assaults in 2024 up to 496 assaults last year. They were driven primarily in assaults related to domestic violence cases, but we also saw assaults related to child abuse go up. Those are not primary arrests. What we saw is secondary arrests. So for example, if our deputies are out conducting proactive policing and we arrest a drunk driver, if they have a child in the car, we are moving aggressively to add an arrest charge to whoever's driving the car if there's a child in the car. And we did see those numbers go up quite a bit last year. We also saw an increase in resisting, obstructing, and delaying peace officers. And pretty much those three categories, the domestic violence, the child abuse, and resisting police officers, made up the majority of the increases that we see in crimes against persons. I want to highlight for you really quick a case involving crimes against persons. This investigation happened at the beginning of last year, and our detectives started investigating an assault with a deadly weapon. This was between a boyfriend and a girlfriend. When they learned of that domestic violence case, they came to understand that the girlfriend pointed what the victim believed to be an AR-15 rifle at the victim. Our Special Enforcement Unit team, which is our plainclothes unit, got involved, and they were able to author a search warrant and get that search warrant approved by a local judge. They ended up serving that search warrant at a residence, and they followed up at a storage facility. They located 42 firearms, including a .50 caliber rifle, and thousands of rounds of ammunition. The girlfriend was arrested, but it turns out that the boyfriend, who was initially the victim of the assault with a deadly weapon, was a convicted felon, and he was not allowed to be in possession of or around ammunition or weapons. And he was, knowingly, so he got arrested as well. But this picture shows those 42 firearms and thousands of rounds of ammunition. It was a great case by our detectives and by our Special Enforcement Unit. The next category we look at is crimes against property. And you can see we're pretty static across the board in all of our crimes against property. This is an area, crimes against property, where proactive policing really can have a positive impact, and I'll talk about that in a moment. The most notable improvement was in the area of thefts of motor vehicles. You can see we had 72 vehicles stolen in 2024 and 45 stolen in 2025, and much of that decline we attribute to identifying the right crooks who we know have backgrounds in stealing vehicles and targeting them aggressively for probation searches and targeting them for stays in custody, because when they are in jail, they're not able to be out on the streets stealing cars and victimizing residents. You can also notice on here that one area, when we have 800 crimes or 700 crimes that we're measuring, it looks like just a little blip on the radar, but it is one worth talking about. Arsons, we had 4 arsons in 2025. We had none in 2024. In 3 of those arsons, we discovered that transients were using fires either to cook or to keep warm, and they were observed by passerbys who reported it to us, and we were able to go out and make contact, and we did make some arrests. One of the arsons was a person who was suffering from a serious mental breakdown and who started a fire in the home where she was living. Arrests were made in all 4 cases of the arsons that happened. Organized retail theft. This is one that we always talk about in Camarillo because we have the Camarillo Premium Outlets. We have the Camarillo Town Center with Target and with Home Depot. They are still and likely always will be the most prominent crime in Camarillo. And a lot of that does revolve around organized retail theft. It's not just shoplifts. In 2025, we did have 370 shoplifts just between the Camarillo Premium Outlets and the Camarillo Town Center, which is Target and Home Depot. 177 of those shoplifts were organized retail theft in nature. What does that mean to you? When we talk about ORT, we're talking about groups working in concert to commit the thefts. They move from store to store. They even move from city to city or region to region. We've had people from Northern California who make their way down the coast committing organized retail theft. Some of these groups create distractions in order to commit their thefts, while others are less strategic about their thefts and more bold. They just go in and they take armfuls of property. Some of them take advantage of their knowledge that a lot of loss prevention employees from some of these corporations, they have to call their headquarters before they can report it to police. And so a lot of the crooks know that, and they take advantage of that. It also gives us a disadvantage at times when we're trying to identify and take people into custody. Our community resource unit works hand in hand, though, with the outlet mall security and are constantly building good relationships with the loss prevention to try and minimize that time delay between the crime occurring and the crime being reported to us. And we've seen a lot of success in that area. Most often in organized retail theft, the crooks are looking for specific merchandise like laundry detergent or beauty supplies. Other items they look for are cell phones, clothing, purses, and even high-end alcohol. We still do have the Organized Retail Theft Task Force that's operating on a grant run by the Sheriff's Office. And we do see them operating in Camarillo proactively at our outlets. When I talked about proactive policing having an impact on property crimes, this is that one area that I'm talking about. Our two-person directed enforcement unit also works proactively at the outlets and within the community to build relationships and with outlet security and individual stores, loss prevention, again, to help reduce that time delay between crimes occurring and us coming on scene. The Organized Retail Theft Task Force, they're instrumental in helping us fight crime. We also are looking to build a reputation at the outlets. We want it to be known throughout this region that the Camarillo Police Department doesn't mess around and that the Ventura County Sheriff's Office doesn't mess around. That word gets out when crews come up from Los Angeles and when they think they're going to get off with a ticket because they've kept their theft under felony levels. But we use other crimes like conspiracy when people work in concert together to say, no, that's a felony in Ventura County and you're all going to jail over that. You're not going to get the ticket that you get elsewhere. So our organized retail theft, our directed enforcement unit really help us to develop that reputation. And I do know that that reputation makes its way out into the public. From the ORT task force, last year they conducted a number of proactive blitz operations at the outlets, working with our team in outlet security. They've done proactive patrol on a random basis, and they conduct investigations into some of the crews that come into our area. And their efforts last year resulted in 54 separate arrests out at the outlets. I also want to highlight a cargo theft investigation that our detectives did. We had a spree of stolen vehicles last year. Happened around the end of 2024 and up to New Year's Eve, where several vehicles were stolen from various locations in Camarillo, but also even in neighboring cities. They broke into businesses at some locations with box trucks and stole some of the merchandise. In one instance, they stole a big rig here in Camarillo, and they drove over to one of our large warehouse stores, hooked up to one of their trailers, their tractor trailers, full of merchandise, and made off with that tractor trailer full of merchandise. In those few days, the total losses that we saw here was over $500,000 in merchandise. Our detectives started investigating, and through the use of quite a few investigative techniques, including license plate readers, we identified where the suspects were dropping the merchandise off. We did some other search warrants, and they identified several suspects who were involved, and we were able to track them from the various locations that they operated in Southern California. We worked with our Organized Retail Theft Task Force, the California Highway Patrol, and the Drug Enforcement Administration Agency, and we executed search warrants at several locations throughout Southern California. We made arrests and we seized approximately $1.5 million in stolen property. So not just the property from our thefts up here, but we discovered that there were stolen property from other nationwide organizations like Amazon, Samsung, TJ Maxx, Converse, and others. And we intercepted these goods as they were being sent to Tijuana for resale. The picture you see here is one of our trucks, our stake bed truck, and all of those boxes are Samsung TVs that were stolen off of a trailer, not here in Camarillo, but other locations. And this case is just a testament to the tenacity and skill level of our detectives and to the great relationships that they built with our local, state, and federal partners that allow us to bring these crooks to justice. Crimes against society is an interesting category. In all of our other crime categories, we look for crime rates to be going down. That's a sign of a safe community. Crimes against society actually is different because this is really a measure of proactive policing. This is a new category that we never did before under uniform crime reporting. And so this is drug and narcotics violations that our deputies make, equipment violations and weapon law violations. And so, again, this is a measure of proactive policing. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, we've got some areas where we've identified some really good trends and some areas where we've identified some negative trends. And this is an area where, for me, because of one thing I've learned in 27 years of policing tells me about the impact that drugs and drug use has on crime in our communities. Our biggest crime category is larceny, theft, and over the years, I have personally experienced that drug users commit a disproportionate amount of theft-related crime in our community. So for me, this is a category where I want to see the numbers go up, not down. I want our deputies out making proactive traffic enforcement stops, looking for those drug users who would be intent on stealing from our community members and for folks who have went out and earned their property on their own. So this is an area we're going to focus on this year. I'm already seeing an increase so far in the first 3 months of this year. We're up about 8% in arrests, and I want to see that trend continue as we move forward. So what does a crime against society look like? This photograph right here and this description is what it looks like. We received a tip from an anonymous person in Camarillo that there was an Oxnard resident who was selling drugs in our city. We did enough investigative work to obtain a search warrant, a residential search warrant signed by a Superior Court judge. Our Camarillo police detectives, our Sheriff's Office Narcotics Unit conducted a search warrant at the residence. They located 236 grams of cocaine, 35 grams of methamphetamine, psilocybin mushrooms, and nearly $75,000 in cash proceeds from the narcotic sales. So this is the kind of thing that proactive policing gets you. It prevents drugs from getting on the street and getting in the hands of people who shouldn't have it. And it sends a message to people that we won't tolerate this in Camarillo. One of the other important things for me to share with this council was our response times. You can see that late 2018, 19, 20, we were looking really good. And then we saw a very noticeable increase in response times. Well, last year, we saw a very significant decrease. And the reason why I wanted to share this and point it out to this council was because 2025, in fall of 2024, you all approved the addition of a cover sergeant car and of a cover car for our patrol deputies, particularly to provide coverage out on the east end of town. And you did that because the data showed us that our deputies' workload was not balanced, and we believed that if we had additional resources, we could bring down the response times. So 2025 was the first year that we had both of those cars fully staffed for the entire year, and you see the results. It's a significant decline. Now, these 20 seconds to some people might not seem to be a lot. But when you're that person and you're on the phone with 911 and you need a police officer at your house immediately because something is happening, that 20-second makes a big difference. And so I thank council for listening to us and for supporting us in this because it is having an impact on safety in our community. Getting near the end, one of the topics I want to talk to you about, again, an area where we need to see improvement is in traffic collisions. You can see we've got 4 years in a row of increases in traffic collisions. Significantly, actually, over the 4 years, we're up to 754 traffic collisions. So what we've done is we know that our traffic collisions primarily happen at our intersections. And so we looked at our top 5 intersections. We assigned a traffic investigator to look at each one of those intersections. They go out personally, make observations to see what kind of violations they're seeing out there, to look at the engineering around it, to look at the environment, to see if there's anything we can do. They look at the data. Each traffic collision that we investigate in Camarillo, we determine what the primary collision factor is. So we look at that primary collision factor from the perspective of that intersection. We make calls to our traffic engineers, our partners over here in Camarillo at the city. And if we have suggestions, maybe we need to lengthen the time that a light stays yellow because we're seeing some issues with that. Maybe we need to have signage there because we have a lot of pedestrians walking and we need to highlight that we have crosswalks. We're working on all 5 of those intersections, and we've come up with some suggestions. We've come up with some enforcement changes that we're making to address those, to bring those traffic collisions down. One of those things is, quite frankly, we need to write more tickets. We have our 3rd year in a row where our ticket writing for hazardous violations is down significantly. I don't think it's an accident that our traffic collisions are up significantly. Study after study after study shows the direct correlation between those two. So we are looking to write more traffic citations. It doesn't necessarily make our residents happy, but safety is something that's of paramount importance. Roadway safety is of paramount importance. So we're going to be looking to do that. We will be looking to transition 2 of our 4 traffic cars. They drive around in patrol Tahoes to traffic motorcycles. We already have 2 motorcycle units in Camarillo. We're looking to add 2 more. We've made the purchase of those bikes already. And we know that being on motorcycles allows them to be more nimble. It allows them to catch up to violators much quicker than those patrol Tahoes. It allows them to sit in places where they're not quite as noticeable. You've heard of the saying black and white fever. A lot of times when people see a police car, those Tahoes are giant, they're marked, people are on their best behavior. We like that, but we can't be in every place all the time. And so we will be transitioning 2 of our patrol Tahoes into patrol motorcycles to help us write additional hazardous violation citation and help bring these collision numbers down once and for all. Just a snapshot, we did issue 3,700 total citations last year for speed, distracted driving, and other hazardous behavior. We did 3 grant-funded DUI checkpoints. I'm happy to say that we only made 3 arrests for DUI and 15 citations. We would love for our community to stop driving drunk so that we saw 0 arrests at those DUI checkpoints. I'm not unhappy when I see no arrests after a Friday night with 5 or 6 hours. I'm really happy because we screen thousands of cars coming through those. And if we can get those cars coming through there and people are not driving drunk, that's a win for us. That's a positive. We did focus on DUI collisions and arrests last year, and we made 206 DUI arrests. One area you may have already heard that we're focusing on and that you will see us continue to focus on is e-bike safety. We did presentations to over 1,500 students. We have started a very aggressive enforcement campaign the last 4 weeks, where we are targeting certain schools, the high schools in particular, and the middle schools where we're seeing the most egregious activity. And we're taking a zero tolerance approach to any violations with kids on bicycles. The information has been put out to parents over and over and over through press releases, through our school district, both Pleasant Valley and Oxnard Union. They've been great partners in getting information out, and we still haven't seen a correction in behavior. And so over the last few weeks, we have towed some unlawful e-bikes. We will continue to do that. We will continue to issue citations because we need to change the behavior to make this, our kids ride those bicycles much more safely throughout our community. I'll give you some time to read this while I talk, but this is one area where I am most proud of the work that our deputy sheriffs do. Community engagement is critical for us to continue to maintain trust in our community, to continue to maintain the positive relationships that we have, and to continue to build upon those relationships. This list is not comprehensive, but it's a snapshot of just some of the things that we could do, and it's all I could honestly fit in 2 columns on 1 slide. But I could add a whole nother slide with 2 more columns of things that we do. It doesn't matter who you are in this community, what your status is, whether you live here, whether you go to school here, whether you work here, or whether you're just visiting. Our deputies are everywhere in this community engaging people in a positive way, and I'm telling you, because I've personally been out doing it, I've been at schools, I've been at churches, I coach youth sports, and I've been able to do that in uniform, and I think it's a great way to build relationships between parents and kids. The positive relationships that we build and the diversity of our outreach is second to none. I don't think anybody does it the way Camarillo Police Department does, and I think it pays off every single day when we continue to be deliberate about building positive relationships and providing opportunities for people to come and meet us and for us to be meeting people as well. And this is just a little picture of some of the things we've done. We really focus heavily on engaging with kids. We adults sometimes have our minds made up, and it's hard to change our minds. But kids they're open-minded, and we have a great time reading to kids, going to coffee with the cops at their schools, letting them jump on our motorcycles, play with our canines, and just overall building great relationships with the kids. So moving forward, what are some of the challenges for law enforcement? Obviously, recruitment, retention, and wellness is going to be a problem for us. It's going to be a challenge for us all the time. We do work hard to recruit only the best at the Ventura County Sheriff's Office. We've got a great track record of that. The process is rigorous. It's incredibly difficult to become a deputy sheriff. Only 1 out of every 100 applicant ever becomes a deputy sheriff. And those numbers are pretty incredible. Wellness is a new focus for our agency. Let's be honest, this is a difficult job. There's a tremendous amount of stress that goes along with it. It's not just stress on the deputy sheriffs, it's stress on our professional staff members, and perhaps more importantly, it's stress on our family members at home. And so we've made a big push focusing on wellness, offering up opportunities to hear other people who have made mistakes and hear how they've dug out from under those mistakes that they've made. We make those opportunities available for family members as well, and I think we've done a great job on that, and we will continue to focus on that moving forward. Technology, AI, and their ethical and transparent use are critical to providing enhanced public safety here. We've talked about LPRs in the last few months, and we continue to see incredible benefit they provide. I think I would be remiss in not reporting to this council that last week we had a homicide in Old Town Camarillo, and within a very short time, our license plate reader is what identified the suspect in that homicide. That guy was in custody before we all woke up and went to work the next morning. They're an incredible tool. They're a valuable tool when used ethically and when used transparently. And we do that at the Ventura County Sheriff's Office. All of the things we talked about here today go towards public trust and transparency. Police throughout our country operate in highly polarized environments, and us ensuring transparency is critical for us to maintain and build trust. We communicate to the public in as close to real time as possible to ensure they have up-to-date information on critical incidents as they happen in Camarillo. We are voluntarily cooperative and transparent when things don't go right, as evidenced by our previous discussion on license plate reader data. The work we do is available for all to see through our public transparency dashboards on the sheriff's website, capturing data on arrests, contacts, use of force incidents, and much, much more. We have cameras that capture every single one of our interactions with the public, both worn on our deputies' chest and in our patrol cars. Nearly every single move our deputy sheriffs make is recorded on camera. We open our doors to members of the public through two citizen academies every year. I think we graduated about 50 plus people in our Citizens Academy last year. And we open up to ride-alongs. We have dozens of ride-alongs by members of the public as long as you can pass the small background check that we do. All of this pays off with a community that's incredibly supportive of the work our women and men do. And we will not take that support for granted. We will continue to be present for the public in very meaningful ways that continues to build trust and legitimacy in our community. With that, I want to reiterate that we have some of the most compassionate, hardworking, and professional women and men working at the Camarillo Police Department. From our professional staff working behind the scenes to keep the PD running, to our uniformed deputies on the streets, operating as the face of law enforcement, our team is committed to the high level of service that our community has come to expect from us. I thank the council, I thank the city manager and assistant city manager and the rest of the staff at City Hall for the support they've shown the Sheriff's Office and the Camarillo Police Department over the years, and I'd be very happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Thank you. I'm going to call on Mr. Kildee first because I saw him writing nonstop.
Just briefly, Eric, I have to say that, well, first of all, laundry detergent, that was kind of interesting. I would have never guessed that. That's kind of interesting. I was here when we approved the funding for the cover car. I'm pleased to see that it's effective. I thought it would be, and I was, very pleased that we look at this as an investment in public safety, and I think that's worked out as such. I also, our way of giving back to our police department here, we try to give back in many separate ways, but not the least of it. And one of the things that I'm so happy that we've been able to do is the Law Day dinner. And I believe we're one, if not the only city that still provides this. And it's a thankfulness and thanking our officers and all of the folks that work at the police department, sworn or non-sworn, to let them know that they matter, that they care, we care for them. We look at them as family, even though it's a contract from the Ventura County. We look at them as our own born and bred public servants of Camarillo. And I'm really happy that this council and previous councils are able to afford that honor and privilege to those folks that are able to attend that. So always look forward to this. Thank you for your stellar performance here and your eloquence. You make a very complicated subject for me relatively easy, and I commend you that. And if you would commend all your staff there at the Camarillo Police Department, that they matter, they care, and we're going to do our best to support them to the best of our ability.
Thank you, Councilmember Kildee. And I would like to add that one of our most expectant days is the Law Night Dinner. Our people look forward to it all year long. We've been planning it now for the last month and a half. We're very excited about it. I'd also like to add that a lot of the deputy sheriffs who work out of Camarillo Police Department live here in Camarillo. And when they leave for promotion or other assignments, they all want to come back here. They feel the support that we have from City Hall, and they feel the support that we have from our residents in this city. I've worked in every contract city. It's unlike what we have here, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Councilmember Santangelo.
Thank you. Just a couple comments. I was really happy to see the decrease in the response times because I know we had quite a few presentations on it from you, if I remember correctly. And I think it was a really important addition to the police force in our city, and it made sense, and I'm really glad to see that it panned out the way we thought it would, and that it's really brought down those response times. I also just found it really interesting that the more tickets you give, the less collisions, so that's just found that really interesting. And my question to you, is there anything that the city can do to better support you and your efforts?
Like I've said, Councilmember Santangelo, we do feel very well supported, but we are coming up on budget season. So be careful what you wish for, because I may have a request for you all coming up.
Thanks for that.
Just so you know, Mr. City Manager, that's your job to vet the requests. Mr. Tremblay.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Eric, wonderful presentation. The three most important things that hit home to me is, number one, on the response times. And being able to take a 7.13 minute response time and bring it down to 6.76 and have it equate to what was occurring even pre-COVID is a success. Echo what Susan and Kevin said in their eloquent comments about the importance of the response times. And you can actually see it in the statistics, because if I wrote this down correctly, 370 shoplifts at the outlets and the Target Center, 177 ORT related. The top 26 suspects arrested, responsible for 251 shoplifts. So what happens when that occurs? Deputies are all going over to that area of town, and I'm privileged to be elected from the area of town where there wasn't, the east side, where there wasn't as good coverage. And I think that has been rectified. And from a contextual standpoint, it also shows, I think, the public the importance. This city spends in excess of $20 million per year in public safety. It is the most, it is the highest level of spending in our general fund revenue on any matter. I think it makes a real statement as to this council's, and if it's okay, I'm going to be collective commitment to public safety, because I know all of my colleagues are really focused on our public safety standings. So, and that's about 1/3 of our general fund revenues each year. So that states the importance. On traffic collisions, I like the fact that you're transitioning 2 Tahoes to motorcycle officers. And I do want to note, I think in 2024, I know you had at least 1 motorcycle officer who was out for an extended period of time. And you had issues trying to fill that. So hopefully 2025, it just got a little bit better in terms of coverage and going from there. And then finally, on community engagement, we had one PowerPoint slide, and I think Eric kind of cut it short. I mean, he had both columns filled. I'm not aware of any other law enforcement agency, and I know quite a few, that has the extent of outreach that VCSO has and Camarillo Police Department. So I really want to compliment you, commend your deputies, all of your staff, everybody at the Sheriff's Office, everybody at Camarillo PD. Thank you, because this council, I know, puts, if it's okay to say it, I know that this council puts a real premium on public safety. It's like our #1 issue. So thanks for a very interesting educational report. Keep making progress.
Thank you, Councilmember Tremblay. And if I can add one thing, I did not talk about it in the presentation, but I know it is in there. Those 26 arrestees who created over 250 victims at our outlets in Camarillo Town Center, all were from outside the city of Camarillo, every one of them.
Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Chief Tennyson, for your very thorough presentation and also for the very noble service that you and your team provide to our constituents here in the city of Camarillo. I will share a personal story. When I was a little girl, I would often spend my summers out in Wilmington, San Pedro, that area. And it was quite often, sadly, that we can hear gunshots or that we could hear neighbors being very violent. And I remember experiencing some of that, and as a little girl being like 7 or 8 years old thinking, oh my gosh, we need to call the police. And family members, grandparents and my tios who I lived with, they would almost say like, well, the police are not really gonna come. We can try calling, but they're not gonna come. And many times, and actually now I do have some family members who went into policing, who lived in those areas. And many times I know that I will be criticized for being, quote, too pro-police. And my answer is, what is the alternative? Because I've seen the alternative. And I think Sheriff Freihoff put it best when I recently saw him, and he said, public safety is for everyone. And so I think that is the continued goal. I am very proud of the work that you're doing, that your team is doing. Of course, I think with everything, there's always room for improvement, and I'm glad that you've always been open to that. A question that I do have is and I think you answered a little bit of that, but in terms of the different crimes, do we have any data on who is from Camarillo and who folks are not regarding the crimes against property, people, and society? Or are we able to search for that data?
We can search for that data. I can tell you from the outlets and the theft-related perspective, the overwhelming majority are coming from outside the city, even many from outside the county. Los Angeles imports a lot of crime here. I've said it before, our outlets are a great destination for shopping for good guys and bad guys. And so we do import a lot of crime because of the outlets, but they've shown a real willingness to partner with us to try and make it the best and safest experience for people to come there and shop. I can tell you, I talked about the increase in domestic violence related crimes and arrests. The domestic violence are generally local. They're people who are already living here. A lot of the DUI arrests are people who are driving from a local establishment home. So it's kind of crime dependent.
Okay.
So some of those crimes, we do see a lot of people who are residents here, who live here, who are the suspects in those crimes and who are arrested. And in other crime categories, we see people who are from outside the city who are arrested for those crimes. So we do know, and it kind of depends upon crime.
Okay, thank you so much. And my other question is, I think I'm trying to understand this. So at the Camarillo outlets, you said that if there is, if they're stealing something, they need to call the loss prevention before calling the police? That sounds really odd to me.
Yeah, it is really odd. It sounds odd to us too, and we work with them all the time on figuring out ways we can do that better. But each one of those stores is owned by the individual corporation, and they all have their own corporate policies. Some of the corporations, they're really aggressive. I will tell you, Target has incredible loss prevention officers, and they are very quick to call us. And that's why our number one arrest location is Target. Other ones have to call a corporation, wherever that might be, explain what the problem is, and then get permission before they call us. We're working with them on
Okay.
that to try and find solutions and workarounds to that. But, you know, it is at times a hindrance.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Quick question, Commander. You're going to add 2 motor officers, but it's not going to cost the city any more money, right?
That's correct. It's actually going to save us money in the long run. A Patrol Tahoe is a more expensive vehicle to purchase and to upfit. We get about 100,000 miles out of a Patrol Tahoe. Our motorcycles, we don't get as many miles out of them, but it takes longer to mile them out, and they cost about half the price of a Patrol Tahoe. So we'll probably get 4 to 6 years driving a motorcycle at about half the cost of a Tahoe.
And we're not adding any staffing, you're just moving 2 traffic enforcement officers out of the Tahoe onto motorcycles.
That's correct.
Hopefully they get good training.
They will.
I appreciate the community outreach. I'm aware of it because I have a daughter involved in the education field in Camarillo, and I know the frequency of your school resource officers and other activities, the coffee with the cops that you do at all the schools. And it mirrors something that I thought a long, long time ago is we can influence our young people and create the relationships instead of like, if you see that police officer over there and you do that again, I'm going to tell him. And I'm glad that's no longer a common theme amongst most parents. It was a common theme with my mother at one time, but you may have experienced that. I also think that what my other council members said, I don't think there's another police department in this county or probably just about anywhere that has the community outreach efforts that the Camarillo Police Department does for this city. And I know that it's a common theme that we're a third of the cost of the city's general fund, but if you went to a full-service city, it'd be 50% of your cost of your general funds. So I think we're getting good bang for the buck, and I do have to thank you publicly for not sharing crime stats from 1999 to 2004 to compare them to today. And this is the first time you haven't done that, and I appreciate it. All of my council members I've had the opportunity to serve with on the Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness Committee, and I am proud to say from firsthand experience, there has been nothing but wholesale support from this entire council when you've brought requests to the council. There's been a lot of questions, and it dealt with educating about what a 24-hour car was or an overlap car. But there has never been any hesitation on the part of any of my colleagues up here in the last 3 years to listen, to make the decision, and to do what we could to support the police department to provide a safe community for the residents of Camarillo. And thank you for that.
Thank you.
Next, we will move to the consent calendar, items E through G. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments on consent?
There's one speaker, Spencer Ritchie.
I just noted the council comments. Did we do those?
Oh, I'm sorry. You can get her, but she's got about 10 minutes. Council comments. I checked it off. Maybe it was wishful thinking. Mr. Tremblay, how about you go first?
Sure. Meetings attended since March 25, the March 26 meeting of the Policy Committee with Councilmember Santangelo on an April 3 VCTC. And that's it for me.
Mr. Kildee.
Yes, meetings attended. April 2nd, we had a VRSD meeting. I'd like to thank Eric Zetz for the last council meeting being here. And if any council members would like to take a tour of our landfill, let me know. We can certainly set it up. And that's all I have.
Councilmember Santangelo.
Thank you. On March 26th, with Councilmember Tremblay, I went to the Policy Committee. On April 2nd, I had Clean Power Alliance Board of Directors. And earlier today, April 8th was the Mobile Home Rent Stabilization Ordinance Ad Hoc Committee with Dr. Martinez Bravo. And that's all I have.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. April 1st, I met with mobile home constituents to hear their concerns. And then April 8th, today I was a mobile home ad hoc committee or meeting with Councilmember Santangelo. And I just wanted to thank all of the home residents who have voiced their concerns either via email or who were here earlier. Just wanted to say that I hear you, and please know that I remain committed to supporting our community and working in the best interest of our Camarillo residents. And actually, I would also like to take this opportunity to proudly congratulate Camarillo's very own Gabriela Jaques and the entire UCLA women's basketball team on their incredible championship victory. Super proud of them. Thank you.
Thank you. On April 2nd, I had an RDP meeting. I've had several meetings, none reportable. I do want to talk about a business visit. One of the things that's enjoyable this year is going out with our manager of economic development, the city manager, and Bradley, our director of community development, and visiting some of the high-tech companies that I wasn't always aware of. I've lived here since 1979 and have driven by a number of these buildings 100 million times and never realized what was there. And this past week, along with Mr. Ramirez and George Winkler and Bradley, we visited a local company, Lucix Corporation, which was founded by a husband and wife in Camarillo on their dining room table or their kitchen countertop. And it's a high-tech communication industry that has their devices on satellites, et cetera, and they employ 105 people in Camarillo, and they expect to have fairly significant growth over the next 5 years. And the people they're employing are engineers. They're high-paying jobs, and they're trying to recruit people. In fact, we met some young people from, was it Georgia Tech? Which made our director of community development happy. It's his alma mater, but another company we visited recently has 300 employees, and there are, again, many engineers and high-paying jobs. So we have a lot of opportunity in Camarillo, and I look forward to opportunity moving forward. I just have a question for the city manager. When does the emergency ordinance on the rent stabilization expire? And when can we expect to see this matter on the agenda so we can address it?
We are working on it diligently. I think we're going to put the places on the next council meeting's agenda. As far as expiration, I'd have to defer to the city attorney on that.
I believe it's April 20th or 21st. So right before the next meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you. And did Spencer come back? She did not. So we will move on to item H, but before we take up, oh, I'm sorry, let's go back to the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, other than Spencer, any speakers on the consent calendar?
No other speakers.
Hearing none. Any questions from council?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Santangelo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Councilmember Kildy,
Yes.
Councilmember Tremblay, Mayor Tennyson.
Yes.
That
And with
passes-
that, we will take, thank you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That passes unanimously.
I got a note that asked for a break, so with that, we will take a 10-minute recess before we go on to item H on the agenda. 6:45 and 30 seconds. I see all of my fellow council members are back, so we will reconvene the meeting of the Camarillo City Council in the Camarillo Sanitary District 1 minute early. Next is item H, the Camarillo Sanitary District Water Reclamation Plant Upgrades Program and Manager Services. And I believe Mr. Klotzel, this is yours.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Also acting as the Camarillo Sanitary District Board of Directors. This item is to consider awarding an agreement for professional owners advisor services for the Water Reclamation Plant Upgrades Project. First, we'll cover some brief background information. The Water Reclamation Plant, or WRP, treatment capacity is rated at 7.25 million gallons a day, and the current flow and treatment is at about 3.5 million gallons a day, which is treated to tertiary standards with the effluent reused for agriculture and landscape irrigation. Original construction is nearly 70 years old with various expansions and upgrades over the years. The plant's been well maintained, but now needs significant upgrades. A wastewater master plan completed by WSC in 2022 provided planning level analysis and initial condition assessment of the plant to focus more specifically on what upgrades are needed and develop alternatives to accomplish those upgrades. Hazen and Sawyer was then hired and built further on the master plan analysis, meeting on site with plant operations staff and preparing numerous detailed technical reports to develop off-site and on-site alternatives for the upgrades, including initial design and budgetary considerations. Additionally, Fieldman, Rollap and Associates has been hired to develop a long-range financial plan to determine the district's funding capacity for the project and to lay out a financial roadmap to fund the needed upgrades. As for the location, the WRP is at the end of Howard Road on approximately 20 acres along Conejo Creek. And there's room on those 20 acres to accommodate upgrades on-site by rehabilitating existing facilities and or constructing replacement facilities. The district also owns 50 acres immediately to the west, which allows the opportunity to fully explore all options for upgrading the plant, including possible use of a portion of the 50-acre site. The WRP Upgrades Project is a generational investment into critical infrastructure, the largest capital project in the city and district's history. The sheer size and complexity of the project, along with significant funding requirements, call for an independent owner's advisor to represent the city's interest throughout the entire project. The key characteristics that an owner advisor brings to the project include technical expertise and overall project management. The owner advisor is an independent element, which is independent from contractors and vendors involved in the project. And it provides a bridging of the gap between complex technical requirements and decision milestones. The owner's advisor also is acting in the interest of the city to protect those interests, many varied interests, and ensures the project's success. More specifically, an owner's advisor is needed for this WRP Upgrades project to provide technical expert assistance to navigate a very large, complex, multi-year project through completion, and also to explore feasibility of opportunities to maximize the WRP effluent reuse, and also achieve affordability and regulatory compliance throughout the entire project. The owner's advisor is needed to identify and coordinate the preferred procurement method for the upgrades. And then we'll provide continued collaboration of all stakeholders involved, including WRP operations staff. To take the steps forward toward hiring an owner's advisor, staff formed a project governance team, or Gov team, made up of staff from multiple departments, including City Manager's Office, Finance, Facilities, Fleet and Technology, Public Communications, Public Works Capital Projects, and Sanitary District Operations. The Gov team has collaborated very closely every step of the way thus far and will continue to guide the project through to completion.
The process to select and hire an owner's advisor included the Gov team developing and advertising a request for proposals to provide a specific scope of services. Five proposals were received from Jacobs, Carollo, Parsons, MKN, and M&S. An ad hoc committee made up of the mayor and Councilmember Tremblay and 3 Gov team members thoroughly reviewed all 5 proposals, conducted interviews, and selected Jacobs based on their approach to the project, their qualifications, and direct experience providing the same services for similar projects. Staff worked very closely with Jacobs to refine the scope of work, which provides a holistic evaluation of the WRP Upgrades program sequenced in phases to reduce risk and maintain ratepayer affordability. Phase 1A is a one-water affordability and technical analysis producing a recommended WRP upgrades and procurement method. Then Phase 1B will provide detailed design and procurement documents for the WRP upgrades, followed by Phase 2, which will provide technical support and construction management of WRP upgrades. Staff is recommending award of the Phase 1 scope of work to Jacobs, which will be performed over the next 20 months or so. The scope of work for Phase 1B and Phase 2 will be finalized as Phase 1A is completed, with award of those phases at that later time. Task 1 covers program management, including many things, including regular project meetings. Task 2 is technical studies and program definition. Task 3 covers environmental and regulatory compliance. Task 4 is for financial and economic support. Task 5 is identifying and moving towards the selection of the project delivery method. And Task 6 includes targeted technical studies. There's very many details that make up each of these tasks that are further defined in the scope of work that's attached to the proposed agreement. This Task 6 includes numerous in-depth technical studies targeted at specific items, including optimization of plant operations, alternatives for preliminary treatment, disinfection, and odor control, automation of process controls, flooding impacts, energy use, and exploring all potential opportunities for cost-effective reuse of the treated effluent. Taken in total, the Phase 1A scope of work is structured to complete a one-water-based affordability and technical analysis, resulting in a recommended WRP upgrade program and procurement method for CSD board consideration. The one water approach is focused on maximizing the use of all local water supplies in the most cost-effective way to secure a reliable portfolio of water for the city well into the future while minimizing impacts to water and wastewater ratepayers. The initial next steps would be a project kickoff workshop with the CSD board, along with governance and chartering efforts to get things moving amongst the various tasks that are listed here. Another important element of this project going forward is continuous effort related to the funding for the program. This effort will be coordinated between Jacobs, providing the technical and cost estimated information, in lockstep with Fieldman, looking at the financing options, and then our rate consultant, Raftellus, folding in the ratepayer impacts to that funding process. So with that, brings us to the recommendation before you to authorize the execution of a professional services agreement with Jacobs Project Management Company for owner's advisor and program manager services for the WRP Upgrades project. That concludes my report, and be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Klotzel. I'm going to open up with Councilmember Tremblay because of his, no?
I have comments, I don't have questions.
Oh, no questions. Oh, wow. Okay, Mr. Kildee, questions.
Yeah, David, I've been here a while, and I can remember when we had attempted to do an upgrade there, and the results were less than favorable to what we had hoped for. So my question here is, what if we don't do this? In other words, if we don't do this, does it hold us more in a situation where what we're trying to do here, and keep in mind it's the most expensive project the city's ever attempted, and if we don't do this, our predictability of being successful in what we're trying to do, does it go down exponentially? And if it does, how would that affect us and how we're trying to do, not only in a quality situation, but a cost-effective situation, and providing, as we all know, this necessary service to our ratepayers?
Right. Yeah, the approach that is being proposed here with this extensive scope is to do exactly that, is to reduce, minimize, if not remove the risk that we end up with a similar situation as the past. What this is structured to do is a very holistic analysis of all elements that need to be considered with the extensive need for upgrading pretty well the entire operations of our reclamation plant. So that's where the Gov team, and along with working through this scope to refine it with Jacobs, to identify what really does need to be done to reduce that risk and put us on a path towards success for the best cost-effective solution for the upgrades that are needed.
Thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Vice Mayor?
Mr. Klotzel, thank you very much for the presentation. I have a quick question. Owner's advisor, is that the same thing as an owner's representative?
Similar, right? In that we use advisor in that the technical expertise element that is needed is more than just a representative. It's an advisor that represents the city, represents the city's interests in all aspects of the project, of the analysis that we'll be looking at. So I guess that's the best way to describe it. Is it's and Jacobs is a firm that brings an incredible breadth and span of technical expertise in all areas that will be needed here. So it's that technical advisor element to be that representative for the city, for the district moving forward.
Okay, thank you. I was doing some research on my own, trying to figure that out. And also for clarification, the recommendation from today's actions, that would be just to focus on the phase one, that first part?
That's correct. The phase 1A, correct.
1A, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. I have no further questions.
Councilmember Santangelo, none. I want to follow up on Mr. Kildee's question, and the way I understood it is, in the past, we didn't have the results we wanted when there were upgrades to the WRP, but I think part of it was a risk side of things. If we do nothing, it's my understanding that a lot of our facilities and equipment are at or near the end of their life cycle. So if we did nothing from this moment forward, what would the risks be to the city?
Right. The risk would be several items, but having failure of our infrastructure out there, then that would not treat our wastewater as it needs to be treated on a continuous basis, 24/7, putting us in jeopardy of complying with the regulatory requirements that we are under.
You also said when you made the recommendation of Jacobs in your presentation that they had done similar projects of this scope and scale for other entities. Do you have an idea what some of those other entities are?
That's
or who
correct.
they are?
Yes, and specifically this owner advisors element of providing those services. Most recently, one very, very closely similar project is for Las Virgenes Water District. And in their, I'm not sure if I'm using the exact right term, One Water project, a very extensive water treatment process that they're going through, multi-million-dollar project, and Jacobs has successfully led them through that owner's advisors process.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, any public comments?
Yes, I have two people that want to speak. First, Doug Blois, followed by Spencer Ritchie.
Welcome, Mr. Blois.
Good evening, Mayor Tennyson and rest of the council and staff. Real quickly, before I get started on this, you mentioned in your report, Police Chief Eric, that it was a 20-second improvement in response time. It's actually 36 seconds. That's huge, as several of the council members also pointed out. So, and as Dr. Martinez Bravo mentioned, I think we have a lot to celebrate with one of our lady basketball players leading the Bruins to their first national championship. She was the top scorer in that game. That's huge. I'm come here tonight not as a hater or a complainer, but as somebody that wants full transparency, and this is a massive project. And so my first question that I jotted down was very similar to Dr. Martinez Bravo. Is this $4 million contract just for phase 1A? And if that's true, then I suspect that there's going to be a lot more for the rest of the phases. But I think that, is that true? Anyway, that's my question, confirmation. And then the second that I had real briefly is, at this stage, I would think that there's already some sort of an engineer's estimate for the total cost of the project. For full transparency, I would like the public to be aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Spencer Ritchie.
All right, hello. First off, my apologies for not showing up the public comment earlier when I was called. I had to use the restroom. Two, whatever the city goes with for upgrading and keeping in repair our reclamation plant on Howard, that is something that you don't want to skimp on. Definitely, like, make sure you are getting just a good job of it in general, because that's literally life-saving infrastructure. Like, between the fact that, again, as climate chaos ramps up, obviously, we're going, because that's going to cause our water income to grow more and more inconsistent. And then also, especially in light of the whole Iran Strait of Hormuz thing, limiting, how much fertilizer can get out to the world, that and the poop ponds at Cal State Channel Islands, those will be more and more important sources of local fertilizer as well. So in general, yes, we should absolutely, make sure we are getting the best of the best for our, our facilities, like our water reclamation plants and stuff. I think that is a very good use of our taxpayer funds, and what our taxpayer funds should absolutely be spent on. If there's any questions about, oh my gosh, where are we going to get the money for that? Because, like there often is, with this city because, again, fiscal responsibility is like, it's pretty much always been a huge, city government value. I don't, a way you could probably free up more money is by getting rid of the contract with Flock. Again, that's blowing us a lot of city money. We never asked for it. And again, that is just, we know that ICE and out-of-state law enforcement has access to that material. That is serving Cameroonians to ICE on a silver platter. So, yeah, that. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Spencer. Now we will go to council comments, and Mr. Tremblay.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I have several comments, but in light of Mr. Blois's question, let me just pose it to Mr. Klotzel, and then I've got a number of comments. Dave, we've been looking at estimates for this project for the last several years. How would you describe where we are at this point, just in terms of general estimates?
Right. The work performed so far has produced some a range, bookends, if you will, of options of alternatives for upgrades and budgetary estimates for those. So we don't have anything more certain than that, and that's this next step of further refining and identifying a recommended upgrade alternative would produce a more refined cost estimate number.
Well, when we were looking on the prior studies that have been done, we were estimating somewhere in the $200 million range overall, correct?
Correct, yes.
And that was 3 years ago.
Right.
So from a contextual standpoint, that's where we are. I think it's fair to say, although it's very difficult to pin that down, especially if we end up incrementally approaching this project.
Correct.
Okay, all right. My comments are as follows. The ad hoc committee, as Mr. Klotzel reported, has been an integral part of this process. The mayor and I have spent many, many hours in the drafting of the request for proposals, sitting through the interviews, discussing the proposals in depth to understand the opportunities for us, the studies that need to be done now in order to assess our water resiliency and the One Water concept. There has been a lot of back and forth internally as well as with the consultant. We're trying to put ourselves in the best position possible regarding the scope of work and the cost. I've practiced law and represented public wastewater agencies for many decades. And we received proposals from very high quality firms. Jacobs is one of them. In fact, I haven't had the privilege of working with Jacobs in the past. But I will tell you that they are a very high quality firm reputationally. And the proposals that we received and the interviews that we conducted showed a lot of forethought in terms of what consultants wanted to provide us. The reason that this is the right approach, and Martina, whether you characterize as owner's advisor or owner's representative, at least traditionally, has been more on the construction project management side, when there's already been, for example, a more traditional design, bid, build process. Here, by contrast, as an owner's advisor, we're bringing them in right up front, because ultimately, we may end up doing this project based on the decisions we make as a board. We may end up doing this project incrementally, both from an efficiency as well as a cost standpoint. And we've got all kinds of work ahead of us, the five of us, to make some really difficult decisions about what we do. But some of that may be from a procurement standpoint, we may be going to very different procurement methods. We may be going to a progressive design build. We may be doing, in other words, we're doing something here that is very different than what entities did 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. What we're doing here with an owner's advisor is absolutely the right way to go in these current times, current circumstances, with now having the ability as a public entity to do, have different options on the procurement side other than, all right, we're going to go out and hire a design engineering firm for a couple $1,000,000. They're going to design it. Then we're going to put it out to bid. Then we're going to hire a construction project manager, et cetera. Those all build up too. But we are able to, at this point, bring in a firm that owes its duty to us and us alone. Jacobs will owe a duty to the city, not to anybody else. And so that's key. There's a lot of money involved in Phase 1A. It's a lot of money, but at the same time, it stands us in good stead as we're looking at the options ahead of us. I think Dave mentioned a workshop. I think there are going to be multiple workshops and multiple hours spent at this. I think this is the right way to do it. I'm very mindful that this is a lot of money. The way I think of this is it's a long, $3.9 million on a Phase 1A of a project that I suspect is going to cost somewhere well north of $200 million. To receive the kind of upfront services that we're going to get now is going to be worth it. And people can make a different value judgment on that, but I think the approach that staff is recommending that we take and the approach that we're doing is the right way to do this. So it's a lot of money, but I think it's money. I don't like spending any money, but anyway, I don't like spending a lot of money, but this is money that's well spent, particularly when you consider how important this project is. The last speaker talked about the importance of a water reclamation plant. We have to do this right. We have to do it right from an environmental standpoint. We have to make sure that we comply with our regulatory mandates and provide the best services possible for folks. So I'm in support of the recommendation and happy to make a motion when the appropriate time comes. Thank you.
Councilmember Santangelo.
Thank you. I won't be too long. I really appreciate your comments and your work on the committee. This is a big, expensive, important project, and so far I'm pleased with how we're moving. I think that the owner's advisor model is the right one. I think it helps us reduce risk, and it will help analyze all elements of the project. Like I said, I really appreciate the work of staff and of the ad hoc committee. I know it takes a lot of work to have evaluated all of these different bidders. And I agree with you, Tony. I think there's a lot more work to come, but I think this board is up for the task. And I think that we've got strong staff behind us to lead us in the way. And I think that this is I trust in the committee's choice to choose Jacobs.
Vice Mayor.
Ditto to what has been said thus far. Thank you so much to the committee, to both the mayor and to Councilmember Tremblay. I know there's a lot of work that went on, not only at the committee, but behind the scenes. I think, David, you probably did some work during the holidays. I remember that was like your fun holiday reading. So to both of you and staff, truly appreciate all of that work. There is a saying in Spanish, which is persona preparada cuenta por dos, like a prepared person counts for two. And so I do think it is especially important to get this right, to have planning in advance, as that is critical. We have said over and over how this is going to probably be the most expensive capital improvement project, and I will add that it's probably going to be one of the most important projects because it is so critical that we are all able to flush our toilets and have access to this water as well. And so with that, I know the mayor and I, we've also done a lot of work in going to Sacramento and going to Washington, D.C., and making sure that our legislators are aware as to where we are in this process and trying to get funding through that process as well. And so there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of work, but I think going through an owner's advisor is the right pathway, and I think we will get there. And I'm glad that we're taking action now. I know it is expensive, but at the same time, it is important to invest in our community in this way.
Thank you, Mr. Kildee.
Yeah, I want to ditto what's been said, and I especially want to thank my colleagues up here for all the hard work. All of us, but particularly Mayor Tennyson and Councilmember Tremblay. I've been up here a while, like I said, and I was here when we were somewhat less successful with one of our upgrades here. And as was said very eloquently, that this is a new time and a new era, and the owner's advisory is the way to go about this. It's also said that we do not know exactly how much this is going to cost, but we do know that it's probably going to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm hoping it'll be in the lesser hundreds of millions of dollars, but until we go out to bid, we don't know. So we're talking about $3.9 million here to try to get as accurate information in a very, very complex project. When you do a project of this magnitude, you're going to have some highs and lows here. And you want to make sure as best you can that what you approve works. I'm one of these kind of different people. I like to go up to landfills and I like to go to sand plants, and I'm really enamored on how they work. And I think it's important for all of us to remember, too, that this has been operational since about 1957, a long time ago. And if we can get anywhere close to that on this new upgrade, this situation, the owner's advisor, I think will be money well spent. I look at it as it is kind of, I don't want to get too wordy here, a three-legged stool here. You've got Jacobs, you've got Feldman for the financing, and you've got Raftellus to be able to help, our ratepayers on all that. So the three-legged stool is really, really important in this. So I can support this. This is the first leg of a race that's going to be it's going to be a long race here. But we want to do it right, and I think this is a real step in the direction, so I will support this.
Thank you. I just want to commend staff. Councilmember Tremblay and I were treated at Christmas time with Christmas wrapped gifts, and I thought, oh, great, staff's getting us presents. And then when I opened it up and saw 5 proposals, about how high, Mr. Tremblay? Yeah, 5 proposals. And one of the city manager's staffers said, you have maybe 10 days to read this. And then he called back later and said, hey, can we do it 2 days early? So my Christmas was spent reading all these proposals. Very informative. Staff did tremendous work in putting together the RFP. We met the ad hoc committee with the Gov team and winnowed it down from 5 proposals to 3, and we did interviews with those 3 proposers. And I feel very confident that the Gov team and Mr. Tremblay and I made the correct decision in selecting Jacobs. As Mr. Kildee said, we do have a 3-legged stool with our rate study, with Jacobs, and with our fieldman to help us with the financing on this. As Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo said, we've planted the seed in Sacramento. We've planted the seed with our federal legislators in Washington, D.C., and also with a couple of federal agencies in Washington, D.C. on the importance of this, not just from the standpoint of being able to have an effective and efficient water reclamation plant, but focusing on the environment and our potential reuse of this water to give us a longer-term, more sustainable water source for the residents of Camarillo. the thing to keep in mind, this is Phase 1A, and it's going to be 20 months. Mr. Klotzel said we'll have a workshop. I'm sure we will have multiple. And typically, when we do workshops, they are publicly noticed, and the public will be invited to these, and you'll be able to see what we see when we see it. And as more and more information comes out, then I'm sure we will share that information on the public portals for the city. We really won't know the cost until Jacobs comes back at the end of this initial Phase 1A on what they're recommended and what this board is comfortable with. I see this as a long-term phased approach. I personally don't think we're going to take one big bite out of this and be done. I see it as a phased approach, and that's what I'm hoping to see going forward, but stay tuned, and obviously I will support this. And Mr. Tremblay, I believe you had something to say?
Happy to make the recommended motion.
I'm happy to second it.
We have a motion and a second, Madam Clerk. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Santangelo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo?
Yes.
Councilmember Kilby?
Yes.
Councilmember Tremblay?
Yes.
Mayor Tennyson?
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
And now I will ask our estimable city attorney if there's any report on our closed session.
No, there was one item and there was no reportable action.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening. We are adjourned.